All right, this kind of episode of Corner Talk that we got going on. I have a cool setup with my mic and everything, so I figured I'd use it to be able to clearly articulate some cool stuff about education, playing, performance reviews, and everything like that. So, here's what we're going to talk about: critique. When do you give it? Where do you give it? And how do you give it? Critique. So, let's first start off by when do you give critique? Now, I'm going to say this loud and I'm going to say this perfectly clear. If critique is not warranted, do not give it. No matter how bad you think that person needs critique or how much you think you can make them sound better, you can probably make them sound 10 times better. But here's the thing: they didn't ask for it. I'll relate this to the consent is everything video. Now, if a person says they don't want tea, don't make them tea. It's as simple as that. Don't make them tea. It doesn't matter if they like tea. It doesn't matter if they don't like tea. It doesn't matter if you already started preparing the tea. Don't give them tea. You know why? Because they don't want tea. And critique goes the exact same way. So, with that being said, that is when you give a critique. When they ask for it, or they make it publicly known, or they are just trying to seek out any kind of help, that's when you give critique. Where to give critique? Critique is given in the most professional ways possible. You never want to out somebody in the middle of an audience when you are trying to critique them, especially after a performance. You don't want to do this as soon as they played and be like, hey, I didn't like the way you did Measure 3. They just performed. You congratulate them on the performance and you say you appreciated it. You never give critique in front of any audience. You never give critique in front of any audience. Now, with that being said, that kind of relates to in person. On Instagram, there's just a comment section that has free reign. So, with that being said, you give your critiques there, especially, if they ask for it. But remember, if they don't ask for it, do not give critique. Do not give critique. They do not want it because they did not ask for it. Period. Period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They don't want critique, so don't give them critique. Now, we're going to talk about maybe the second most important thing about critique: how to give critique. So, the way I give critique is basically in the form of a sandwich on anything. The way you want to give critique: top bread, something that they did really well. It can be anything. It could be that they just stood up straight when they were playing. It didn't matter if the performance was something bad. You can always find something good in any performance. Now, with that being said, that's the number one. The second thing: the meat or the lettuce if you're vegetarian. The meat or lettuce if you're vegetarian is something that they need to improve on. Don't say something that was bad and do not give any efficient solution to help that problem. That's like me saying, your tone's bad. That's not a good critique or a critique at all. You need to give a kind of solution to help that. So you have number one, something that they did well. Number two, something that they need to improve on with an efficient solution. You can add that to be like the cheese or the ranch of your sandwich or whatever like that, because it makes it that much better. Now, after you get something they can improve on and an efficient way to work on it, the next thing you do, the little bottom piece of the bun, you are supposed to give something else that they did well. Maybe a restatement of the first one, but maybe in a paraphrase, different kind of way so it doesn't sound exactly the same. Or you say something else that they did well. Now, the reason for doing this sandwich kind of critique is to, especially for kids, make them feel better about their performance. Is if you bag them down with a bunch of horrible, mean things about the way they're playing, it might have been true, sure, okay, but that does not make anybody feel pleasant at all. You can always give critique with the best, kind, and caring attitude ever. You just have to know how to do it. And the sandwich critique is a very important way on giving critique, especially for children and young adults. So, if you want to be a music educator, learning that sandwich critique is very, very useful for getting your point across without seeming like a very mean individual. Now, if you are trying to give critique to the more college and professional levels of players, you don't necessarily have to be as nice for sure, but you can always use that sandwich critique as it is constructive because the college kids don't need to work on their tone as much as the high school kids sometimes. As you can't say, "Oh, your tone was good." Once you say that your tone was good, that gives them the acknowledgement to not work on their tone as much as you are giving another thing that they need to improve on with that is with better intent. So if you're saying that whatever that they did well, they'll probably stop working on it as much as soon as you try to give it to something else. I think that's about it when it comes to critique. If you guys have any more questions about critique or giving it or something that's necessarily bothering you when other people give you critique, I will give you ways to handle it and solutions to improve the kind of audience that you have whenever you are trying to receive critique. I hope you guys like this little episode of Corner Talk that I had going on. I'm going to post this on Instagram and maybe the YouTube as well. So no edit. I kind of did this in one take. We're gonna see how this goes. Once I learn how to edit, that's when I had these things kind of, put together pretty well. But this was no script off the top of the dome. This is just music education tips to make your life a little bit easier in the field. I'll talk to you guys later, all right?